Is the our final chapter, chapter 18. Is called Open Economy Macroeconomics Basic Concepts and Principles of Macroeconomics. And in this chapter we'll go into trade deficits and surpluses, net foreign investment, and exchange rates. So let's continue with the first part. And in this chapter, look for the answers to these questions. How are international flows of goods and assets related? What is the difference between the real and the nominal exchange rate? What is purchasing power parity and how does it explain nominal exchange rates? So, introduction. One of the 10 principles of economics from chapter 1, trade can make everyone better off. And this chapter introduces basic concepts of international macroeconomics: trade balance, international flows of assets, and exchange rates. First, let's look at closed versus open economies. A closed economy is one that does not interact with other economies in the world, so there are no exports and imports. An open economy interacts freely with other economies around the world. Exports, and they interact with other economies around the world through exports and imports. Net exports are, or the trade balance, are the value of exports minus the value of imports. So oftentimes we like to look at the relationship of exports to imports as net exports. And if you remember, that is the last part of the national income identity, which is Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. Okay, variables that affect net exports. A little active learning exercise here. What do you think will happen to net exports if Canada experiences a recession, U.S. consumers decide to be patriotic and buy more products made in the USA, prices of goods produced in Mexico rise faster than prices of goods produced in the U.S.? So think about this for a minute. What will happen to U.S. net exports? A, Canada experiences a recession. What do you think the answer is? And the answer is U.S. net exports would fall. So Canada would be buying less goods and less U.S. exports, so U.S. net exports would fall. U.S. consumers were designed to be patriotic and buy more products made in the USA. U.S. net exports would rise due to a fall in imports. Now, unfortunately, that will be a short-run phenomenon, because if this truly does happen, other countries will decide to have their consumers buy products made in Pakistan or made in China, and so U.S. Imports would go down. U.S. exports would go down as a result. Okay, prices of Mexican goods rise faster than prices of U.S. goods. This makes U.S. goods more attractive relative to Mexico's goods, so U.S. net exports will increase as a result. Okay, what are some of the variables that affect the net exports? Number one, consumers' preferences. If consumers just want to buy more foreign goods, imports will go up and net exports will go down. Similarly, for domestic goods, exports will go up and net exports will go up. Prices of goods home and abroad. If our prices go up, then we will be importing less. We'll be exporting less if our prices go up at home. And if prices go up abroad, we will be importing less. So that's going to affect net exports. Incomes of consumers at home and abroad. If our incomes go up here at home, we will probably be buying more imports. And if incomes of consumers from abroad go up, they will be buying more of our exports. Exchange rates in which foreign currency trades for domestic currency. Generally, we will export more if our currency goes down or depreciates. Import more if our currency goes up. So whichever currency is cheaper is undervalued, therefore their goods are going to be undervalued or priced as well. Transportation costs. If transportation costs goes down, net exports generally will go up. And government policies can absolutely have an impact on exports. If there are more tariffs, we're going to have less imports. And if there are more policies that restrict trade, trade is going to go down. Imports are going to go down. And if similarly that happens in other countries, that trade is going to go down as well. Our trade to them is going to go down. Okay, trade surpluses and deficits. NX measures the imbalance of a country's trade in goods and services. A trade deficit is an excess of exports minus imports. A trade surplus is exports over imports. So if it's a trade deficit, then NX is going to be negative. If it's a surplus, NX is going to be positive. Balanced trade, exports are going to be equal to imports. Generally, we don't have balanced trade. It's not exactly equal. It's either going to be some kind of a deficit or some kind of a surplus. Okay, this is an interesting chart that shows two things. Number one, it shows that our trade has generally gone up as a percentage of GDP from about 4% in 1950 to in excess of 16% in the present day. And also, we're experiencing quite the trade deficit, 5% of GDP in 2007 quarter 4. And that is this arrow right here. Now, where are the trade deficits going? Well, we're exporting to China, European Union, and Canada. We're exporting manufactured goods to Canada and Mexico, and cars perhaps, and some other items of preference, maybe even wine to the European Union, and perhaps raw materials to Japan and China, and to OPEC manufactured goods in return for their oil. We import from those very same countries, but different goods. We may import European cars and European clothing, Japanese cars, definitely oil from OPEC, manufactured goods from China. China is the world's manufacturing center right now. Primary goods from Canada, perhaps oil from Mexico, and maybe even cars or manufactured goods from Korea. Now the third slide shows merchandise trade balances by country. So we run trade deficits with these countries right here, and we run trade surpluses with these countries. So we're running far greater trade deficits than we are trade surpluses. Okay, this finishes section 1 of